All right, big developments at this hour. Iran has fired a fresh salvo of missiles across Israel. Israel's foreign ministry reported a direct hit on a hospital in the south of the country. It said a direct hit has been reported at the Soroka hospital in Beersheba. The hospital has been temporarily closed to the public. A spokesperson for the hospital reported damage to the hospital and extensive damage in various areas. Sirens blared across Israel, including Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. In the aftermath of the attack, damaged buildings were seen with rescuers in action. Visuals showed smoke trails and puffs of smoke above the city's skyline. The Israeli military had issued a warning after detecting missile launches from Iran towards its territory. This is the latest that we're getting right now. Iran has launched a fresh salvo of missiles towards Israel. This is the latest that's coming in from the volatile situation in West Asia. Iran fired a fresh salvo of missiles across Israel. Israel's foreign ministry reported a direct hit on a hospital in the south of the country. It said that a direct hit has been reported at the Soroka hospital in Beersheba. The hospital has been temporarily closed to the public. A spokesperson for the hospital reported damage to the area. Sirens blared across Israel, including Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. In the aftermath of the attack, the damaged buildings were seen with rescuers in action. Visuals showed smoke trails and puffs of smoke above the city's skyline. A fresh salvo of missiles fired across Israel. This is the latest that we're getting right now. A hospital hit in the latest Iranian strikes on Israel. As you know, a direct hit, as I mentioned earlier, direct hit has been reported at Soroka Hospital in Beersheba. The hospital has been temporarily closed to the public. A spokesperson for the hospital reported damage to the hospital and extensive damage in various areas. Sirens have blared across Israel, including Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. In the aftermath of the attack, damaged buildings were seen with rescuers in action. All right, for the latest on this, we're now joined by Fleur Hassan Nahum, Israel's Special Envoy for Trade and Innovation, former Deputy Mayor for Jerusalem. Thank you so much for joining us on WION World is One. Thank you so much for your time. All right, let me just begin by asking you what your assessment of the current situation is and how things have panned out in the past few days.
Well, we just came out of shelters at the moment, and we had another siren last night. There was a feeling yesterday that the attack from Iran was weakening. They were sending less missiles, and we intercepted more. This morning, of course, things seem to have gotten back to worse. There was a heavy barrage, 3 seriously injured, and they hit a hospital, Soroka Hospital. And in a small miracle yesterday, the part of the hospital that was hit was actually evacuated. But many of the patients were put in underground shelters. So thankfully, the protocol of the hospital saved a lot of people's lives. And so the question now is, the big question is, will President Trump join in and help us destroy the threat of Iran with a nuclear weapon, which Israel cannot live with? That is the question that we're all waiting for here. Of course, we've had a lot of help from the Americans, but a direct joining with us of the offense, not yet.
Ms. Fleur, of course, we're also getting live visuals from central Israel, and you just mentioned that you have come out of the shelters. Am I correct?
Yes, I'm in
All
Jerusalem.
right. Okay. Now, Ms. Fleur, just based on what is happening at the moment and the statements that have been coming out from all the actors that are involved in this, we have seen that Donald Trump has not given a clear go-ahead for anything at this point. When he was asked about this, he said that he may or may not. No one knows what I'm going to do. I'm quoting him directly here. We were also joined by some experts earlier who say that at this point there seems to be no clear plan of action, and it almost appears as though the United States may be winging it when it comes to the conflict in West Asia, the one that we're seeing, of course, currently between Israel and Iran. We know that the negotiations were ongoing between the United States and Iran. They were at an impasse, but there was dialogue. That being said, do you think there can be a negotiated solution to this, or are we going to see further escalation?
Well, the West has been trying to negotiate with Iran since the Obama administration, and Iran has been laughing at everyone and pushing and lying. Even the Atomic Committee knows that there was fraud when it comes to what they are reporting. They didn't have the enrichment going on. They're not to be trusted. They are a toxic Islamist regime, apocalyptically genocidal. They keep saying they want to destroy the state of Israel. They aided and abetted, and they aid and abet Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis. They created a ring of proxy enemies against Israel. And the final peak of that was going to be the nuclear weapon that was going to destroy the state of Israel. So Israel has no choice but to eliminate that threat, because the minute that they enrich enough uranium to put it on a warhead and send it to Israel is the beginning of the countdown of the state of Israel's existence. So we will not let that happen in any way. Now, the Americans have been extremely supportive. They know exactly what we're going through. Many countries around the world know exactly what we're going through, because the Islamic Republic of Iran has killed many people, Israelis, Jews, Christians, other Muslims, and citizens from many different countries around the world, including 600 American servicemen and women. These are evil, bad actors that the world would be better without. And the Iranian people, the wonderful people of Iran with such a great history and a history of friendship with the Jewish people, we are setting the groundwork for them to be able to take their country back.
Ms. Lore, I would like to take this opportunity to also bring in some of the statements that have been coming out from Israel, and especially Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. I believe this was on Sunday during an interview. He said 80% of the people would throw out these theological thugs. They oppressed them for 46 years. They have yearned for freedom. So Netanyahu has essentially been trying to say that this is an opportunity for the Iranian people to rise up. And we also heard a comment from Russian President Vladimir Putin, who has also offered to mediate talks here. Israeli strikes led to a consolidation of Iranian society around its leadership. So essentially, from what he is saying, it would appear as though the Israeli strikes have almost had the opposite effect, perhaps, from what was intended. So when it comes to the objectives of Israel, do you think they have been achieved?
Well, we've achieved 50% of our objectives in terms of eliminating ballistic and nuclear threat. But we have to keep going to eliminate a lot more, to put these people back in terms of their building of a nuclear bomb. We need to put them back 5-10 years at least. And ideally, we'd like to eliminate that completely. A change of regime will only be good for their people. And I don't accept that people are supportive of the regime because Israel is attacking on the country. We see videos and we're getting messages from Iranians who are saying, keep going. We need to pull these people down.
All right. So you say that there have been messages from the Iranian people as well in support of the Operation Rising Lion. All right. Now, Mr. Also to say, just to come back to the nuclear threat or the perceived nuclear threat that Iran poses. We have heard these statements from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu going as far back as, if my memory serves me correctly, 1996, I believe. We've seen these repeated claims. These were also used as the pretext for launching Operation Rising Lion. When you say Israel has perhaps met 50% of its objectives, I just want to understand how we've come to that number.
Well, this is what the military establishment in Israel is saying. I'm not a military expert, but we've managed to destroy over 30% of their rocket launching capabilities. We've managed to kill the entire rank of scientists who can actually enrich uranium. We've killed the head of the intelligence, and we've destroyed many other nuclear sites. That's the reason that they've come up with that number. But of course, the big nuclear site, which is 90 meters underground, is Fordo, and that is why we need American help at the moment.
All right. And just for further clarity on this, we were also speaking to independent journalist Mr. Anthony Lowenstein, who was talking about the fact whether there is a plan for the day after. Now, I want to pose the same question to you. If this is truly for the people of Iran and also to eliminate the nuclear threat, is there a plan for the day after in Iran? What happens going forward?
Look, ultimately, Israel has no territorial ambitions anywhere outside of our country. And so what we can do is significantly weaken the Islamic regime. We're not going to be in charge of creating an alternative government. That's where the Iranian people have to now take their country back. We can only eliminate the threat, the existential threat towards us. But it is the rest of the world, and of course, mainly the Iranian people, who have to take their destiny into their own hands.
Right, so that would essentially imply that what happens next is up to the Iranian people. And just on that as well, I wanted to understand, when we talk about the statements that have been coming out from all sides, we know that Israel is also engaged in a war with Hamas at the moment. This is another front here. Can Israel sustain this fight on its own? I know you've been talking about help from the United States, but how do you assess the capabilities of Israel at this point?
Israel is stronger than ever. We have complete control of the Iranian aerial space. We had people on the ground who had a factory for drone assembly in the backyard of the regime. The regime is weak right now, and Israel has achieved, in 5-6 days, we've achieved 50 or more % of our targets. It's really unprecedented, and books will be written about this campaign in order to eliminate the threat that Israel faces from the Islamic Republic of Iran, which is the main exporter of all the terrorism against Israel and against innocent citizens around the world. And so we are still going to keep going until the threat is eliminated.
All right. Now, we also know that Russian President Vladimir Putin did say that there could be a solution to this, a diplomatic solution to this, where Iran can retain its right to enrich uranium as well as not have a nuclear weapon. That being said, Israel did strike a lot of the nuclear facilities in Iran. However, from reports that we're hearing, the underground facilities are very much intact. Do you think there can be a negotiated solution? I know I've asked this before, but I'm just trying to understand. Do you think there can be a negotiated solution? Because we were joined by some experts earlier as well, and one of them had a pertinent point to make, saying that you cannot simply bomb Iran's nuclear program out of existence. I want to understand how you assess that.
At this point, I think that Vladimir Putin, he's got his hands full with his own war that he started. And so I think that the idea that this guy who started a war against Ukraine can be the mediator in this solution is laughable. In terms of a mediated solution, they had their chance. 60 days America gave them, and they blew that chance because they were used to the West being weak about this and letting them continue to waste everybody's time, buy time, trick everybody for time. So I think the time for a negotiated settlement to let them enrich 60% or 70% or 80%, that's gone. We now need the full nuclear program to be dismantled because it poses a threat to us, and they can't be trusted, and they've been tricking the authorities for 15, 20 years.
Right, and that's pretty much what Donald Trump is saying as well, that perhaps Putin should focus on the war that it is engaged in with Ukraine, as well as saying that perhaps these mediation efforts and these negotiations should have come about a week or 2 weeks ago. But that being said, can the nuclear program truly be dismantled?
Well, again, I'm not sure that there's any person, any partner to speak with about dismantling of their own nuclear program. When Khamenei gets on and makes a speech yesterday in defiance of Israel and America and threatening the free world. So I don't think we're talking about the same type of people if you think that you could still negotiate a settlement with them.
All right, Ms. Fleur, just one final question to you. Where do things go from here?
Again, Israel will continue until the threat to our existence is eliminated, and we hope that the countries around the world that understand that we're doing everybody's job for them, we are saving humanity by getting rid of this very toxic regime that wants to take over the world. I hope that people understand that this is our generational struggle.
All right, Ms. Fleur, of course, we've heard those statements from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as well, that Israel will keep going on. To what end? Of course, that is the big question. How things pan out going forward, that is something that remains to be seen as well. Right now, there isn't much hope. The situation doesn't seem very inspiring. But Ms. Fleur, thank you so much for joining us on WION World as One with your perspective on this.
Thank you.